these coming weeks. We'll have the stories on all this and much more this hour for you on Daybreak.
Good morning and thanks for starting your day with us. Today is Thursday, January 7th. I'm Jennifer Abreu.
And I'm Joe Morano. Almost to Friday, almost to the end of the week. A lot of people looking forward to that, right?
Yes, I am just starting my week today. So you say that and it's lovely to have a short week, you know.
It always feels nice.
Yeah, it's just a 2-day week. It's good. But also this morning, waking up to cold temperatures. Just rain, though, not snow, which a lot of people were expecting. I'm okay with just the rain, although, you know, the snow is pretty. TJ, we are getting some snow maybe later on in the day?
We are. I think we will, guys. Yeah, the temperatures have really kind of thrown a wrench in this. We were expecting to see a changeover, and because temperatures haven't really gotten to that freezing point, even higher up in the sky, we've gone back and forth from snow to rain, rain to snow, at least around the metro and really southwestern Missouri as a whole.
In those areas, the good news of that is not as many slick spots there, but it is probably a good day for the Colorton weather app, right?
Yeah, keep that with you. Keep checking it. You get the hour-by-hour forecast on there, radar outlooks. In Springfield for now, we are seeing wet conditions, which is good. But if you wanted snow, maybe not what you wanted to wake up to this morning, and not a winter wonderland out there. Some of us, that is the case, especially in northwestern Arkansas. We've seen a lot of snowfall coming up from the south with this and still circulating around the Ozarks. Seeing some of that snow near Camden, Fort Wood, Mountain Grove, really eastward on Highway 60. And I think if we can get some heavier precip rates, as this kind of circulates back toward Greene County and the metro, we could see that changeover even here in Springfield. Slowing things down on dual pole Doppler radar, you can see the blue and really not as much green on the map, which is, if you want the snow, is good. Down across northwestern Arkansas, reports of over 2 inches. Higher up in the sky, even seeing some reports of 4 inches on social media. Down toward far southwestern Missouri and McDonald County, we've seen some of that snow in Rocky Comfort, over 2 inches there for you where it has come down. So you can see there are some spots that have seen a nice little accumulation of it. We'll talk more about the snow, who sees it, and how much coming up in a little bit, guys.
All right, thank you very much, TJ. We've had this live drive going all morning long, just a little bit wet out in those Springfield limits, right?
That's right. As TJ showed us, that snow is dancing around us. So let's check in with Bailey Stroll, who's been driving around Springfield right now, to see what she is seeing out there. Bailey, what is it looking like?
Well, we've headed farther east. We're in Fordland now, checking out other parts of the Ozarks. I believe there is some flurries coming down, but it's really hard to see it. Mostly, if they are, they're up in the air and they're not really making it to the ground. Nothing's sticking, of course, right now. I can't see much, but we can hear a lot of treatment coming up and hitting the car as we're driving on Highway 60 and roads around the area. I've seen MoDOT vehicles out, they're treating the roads, but of course it's always tricky when we're still in that, like TJ said, in that limbo between freezing temperatures and non-freezing temperatures, rain and snow. But it seems to start picking up around Rogersville and Fordland now. We saw some flurries in Rogersville for sure a little bit ago. As far as the MoDOT traveler information map, you're going to want to check that before you head out, even though you won't have to clean off your car right now. Before you head out, but there could be some slick spots, especially around the Missouri-Arkansas border. We did see on the MoDOT traveler information map some covered roads. There are partly covered roads down around Berry County. But as far as road conditions go in Springfield, Rogersville, and Fordland, what we've seen so far, just wet conditions, treatment on the roads, MoDOT crews out making sure that people can get to work safely during that commute today. We are seeing some more roads out here, or more folks on the roads out here this morning, so they shouldn't have a problem getting to work still in these early hours. Bailey Stroll, back to you guys.
We will not be kept out of this chamber by thugs, mobs, or threats.
Now, January 6th will go down as one of the darkest days in recent American history.
After a lengthy day of protests and riots in Washington, Congress reconvened last night, voicing opinions on the events that happened before certifying each state's electoral college votes from November to confirm Joe Biden will be the next president. Congress just concluded its session on this about 3 hours ago.
And President Trump is currently suspended from Twitter for about another hour due to continued false claims about the election. But one of his aides tweeted this statement after Congress gavelled out. It says, quote, "Even though I totally disagree with the outcome of the election and the facts bear me out, nevertheless, there will be an orderly transition on January 20th. Now, yesterday afternoon, Congress was moved out of the Senate chamber when hundreds of Trump supporters breached the building in protest.
Once the evening came, there was a lot going on, both inside and outside of the Capitol. Senator Josh Hawley was one of the first Republican senators to announce he'd be opposing the certification of electoral votes. Earlier in the afternoon, his statement that he released read that he was thanking law enforcement and asking for the violence to end and to prosecute people who attacked police. He ended by saying Congress needed to get back to work, which it eventually did. Later, he spoke on the Senate floor, asking his fellow senators to investigate the election.
I hope that this body will not miss the opportunity to take affirmative action to address the concerns of so many millions of Americans, to say to millions of Americans tonight that violence is never warranted, that violence will not be tolerated, that those who engaged in it will be prosecuted, but that this body will act to address the concerns of all Americans across the country.
The other senator from Missouri, Roy Blunt, called the breach at the Capitol shameful and said, "This is not who we are as a nation." Representatives Vicky Hartzler and Billy Long called the breach thuggery, condemning the breach and praising Capitol Police for protection. We'll be bringing you developing details throughout the day today on OzarksFirst.com.
Missouri Governor Mike Parson also spoke out about the events that happened yesterday in Washington, D.C., saying that his views on riots have not changed.
I am a law and order guy. I don't care what you present to be or cause you're under. You don't violate the law. There's rules and regulations, and you have to abide by them. That's what I do believe. No matter who you support, no matter what your politics are, you have to be responsible for your conduct. That is uncalled for. When people storm the Capitol and violate the laws, if they're violating the law, that's not who we are.
We'll have some more political coverage for you coming up later in the hour. In some coronavirus news, the Springfield Health Department has announced 12 new deaths from the week of December 30th to January 5th. The deaths include a man that was in his 20s. The other 11 range in age from 40 to 80. Now 309 people in Greene County have died from the coronavirus.
The number of COVID-19 patients are expected to increase in the next few weeks. At a Cox Health briefing yesterday afternoon, President and CEO Steve Edwards said the number of patients went down about 3 weeks ago, but have been growing every day. There are currently 185 patients in the Cox Health system. Edwards anticipates that number to continue to rise in the next 2 weeks. He says he's also seeing higher asymptomatic positive rates. In terms of vaccinations, Edwards says they can handle vaccinating many more people if they have the supply. Infectious disease specialist Dr. Robin Trotman explained how many people need to get the vaccine for us to achieve herd immunity.
We are hopeful that the state will allow hospitals and health departments to work together, give us a vaccine, quite frankly, get out of our way and let us do what we're good at. We got 91% of our vaccines done in 10 days. That included Christmas and New Year's. We think we can probably deliver 10,000 a day if you give us the vaccines.
A vaccine might benefit you, but if we want to have our system open back up and feel freely to move about the community, we need a certain threshold of people to receive the vaccine. That might be 60 or 70%. If 70% receive the vaccine, then there's enough bumpers in the road that it squashes transmission.
Cox Health says it does have sufficient bed capacity right now, but is expecting increased hospitalization in the coming weeks. And now let's get a check of our local forecast with TJ. Wet and cold out there this morning, TJ.
It really is, Jen. Yeah, that's been the big headline. We are seeing the snowflakes coming down, at least from Bailey, where she's been heading eastward. We're going to continue to talk more about this, how much we're going to see coming up in just a few minutes. Don't go away.
From Color 10 Ozarks First, Jennifer Abreu, Joe Morano, and weather with meteorologist TJ Springer. This is Color 10 News Daybreak. And now weather with meteorologist TJ Springer, certified by WeatherRate for the most accurate forecast in the Ozarks.
Snow continues to fall across the Ozarks this morning as a storm system is still impacting us, but notice there is still some green showing up on the map. Not all of us have seen that change over to snow, and it's really because of our temperatures, not only at the surface, but higher up in the atmosphere. We've been bobbling back and forth between the rain, the snow, even here in Springfield, but there are still a fair amount of locations that are seeing some snow and some moderate snow at times. We've seen some videos of it on social media, Twitter videos, and really the bulk of it down in the higher elevations of northwestern Arkansas. That's where the snow continues to fall heavily, snow-covered roads, whiteout conditions even at times. This is a report a little bit ago from Compton, over 2,000 feet in elevation, so colder there. Reports of over 2 to maybe 4 inches. We've seen that on Twitter as well. Now in southwestern Missouri, a report in a Rocky Comfort, which is in far southwestern Missouri, McDonald County. That's where we've now seen a report of over 2 inches there too. So it's not happening in Springfield, but it is happening around the viewing area. So you want to watch for slick spots heading eastward or westward on Highway 60. That was really the line of what we were forecasting south of there, east and west on Highway 60 is where we were going to have the better chance of seeing some accumulations of snow, and that's what we have seen thus far. Not only want to allow some extra time on your commute into work, or if you have to get into anywhere early today, 1 to 2 minutes extra to maybe dust off your car, get the snow off your car, and add that onto your morning commute too. Seeing wet conditions in Branson at the moment. This is a live look from our camera at our bureau, looking eastward on 76 Country Boulevard. Also looking quite wet here, not wintry. I know maybe some of you wanted that. Not going to wake up to that here in Springfield this morning. Taking a peek outside your door, 34 northeasterly winds at 13 with that dew point at 33. We may be able to dip toward 33 if we can get some of that snow to fall. It's all around us, as you saw, and where it's coming down, visibility has been reduced a bit, like in Branson, Harrison, down toward Fayetteville, between 2.5 is up to 3 miles, I should say. Currently 10 in Camden, A-OK there, 8 in Springfield. Temperature-wise, no one at freezing right now. We're close to it. 33 in Rolla, also 33 in Monette, 34 in Branson, it's 34 in Lake Ozark. If we were at 30, upper 20s, it would be a completely different scenario. We would have seen more snow. But just because of these marginal temperatures, it really plays a role in the precip type. And that's one of the hardest things to forecast. And you can see how it's impacting us even at this hour. Rain to snow and back to rain. We've seen that on radar. I think the changeover does continue as we head through the next couple of hours, get closer to that really minimum in our temperatures in the day. Rain, snow showers continue through our Thursday, and I think probably later on we'll just have some plain old wet roads. Futurecast continues to show this moisture departing through the evening. Clouds hang tough right into our Friday. I think we'll see some peaks of sunshine, though. We'll start off cold, could have some lingering slick spots out there because of the refreeze tonight, any lingering wet areas. And then we are looking at some more cloud cover as we head into the weekend. In terms of how much we could see, I think there is still some potential for heavier amounts, especially eastward, like I said, on Highway 60, and then in northwestern Arkansas, seeing another kind of maximum there of blue, where we could have another couple of inches, maybe as much as 3 in some spots. We still have winter storm warnings in effect for that reason. In the pink, winter weather advisories here in the purple. That still includes the Springfield metro, so I think we still could see some isolated slick spots as the morning presses on. Now, our certified most accurate 7-day forecast does show temperatures hanging only in the 30s right into this weekend. Going to be cold, great for football on both Saturday and Sunday. A super wild card weekend. Monday and Tuesday, we're right back into the 30s and 40s. A little bit brighter Tuesday as well. By the time we get to hump day next week, guys, we're back in the 50s.
Hey, three games on CBS and Fox, too.
It's
exciting. So there you go.
I can't wait, guys.
Plenty of football on the way. I like the consistency in there, though 35 is a bit cold.
You know, that is chilly,
Yeah.
I know. 3 days in a row.
35 and cold.
Yes.
All right, we've got some birthdays happening for you this morning. Nicolas Cage, what a cool guy photo over there.
What about that jacket? What do you guys think about that? How about that?
I would wear that.
You know Nicolas Cage from everything, right?
I know, lots of things.
You can't pick one favorite, can you? But can you pick his age? That's also tough. And I think he...
57.
Wow, okay.
Come back on that.
Question. Can you pick her
That's how
age? Yes, you can.
Come back to work.
Went
on the
back
new
and
year.
I'm at a loss for words right now.
Thank you very much.
Great job.
Thank you very much.
I'm speechless, Jen.
A lot of talent, a
Look
lot
what
of
you
skills.
do.
All right, yeah, you do the rest of this segment now because this is...
Jeremy Renner. I
is
don't
your
think
world.
I can get this one. I don't think I can get
great.
this one.
One of the original Avengers, of course. What do you think?
The Unusuals.
gosh.
I don't know what that is. I'll have to check that out.
Jen, you got to lead off.
47.
No. I would have loved that happen. I'll say
I would have.
48.
I'm going to go 44.
Oh, okay, yeah.
What do you have for us here?
Wow.
Big 5-0.
We were close. 50.
All right, not bad.
Hey, happy birthday. We also want to say happy birthday to some of our viewers this morning. Happy birthday, Lindsay. Happy birthday, Josh Barnes and Dustin Cleet. If you want us to announce your birthday or anniversary here on Daybreak, send us an email to birthdays@color10.com.
All right, we'll get a look at your morning sports coming up next, but don't forget to find us on Facebook and Twitter during the break.
And now, sports on Color 10 News.
Just when the Missouri State Lady Bears were set to come out of a COVID quarantine, the team went back into isolation. In our Bear Nation report, a second COVID-19 positive has put another hold on the program. That means that the Lady Bears series with Loyola, set for Friday and Saturday at JQH Arena, has been postponed. Missouri State University confirming to Color 10 Sports that the positive test is a second individual that was not part of the first infection. The 25th ranked Lady Bears have not played a game since December 19th. The Drury Lady Panthers hit the O'Reilly Family Event Center hardwood last night looking for their 40th straight win. Amy Egan's Lady Panthers are 7-0, and in the middle of a 5-game homestand, the Drury Lady Panthers have also never lost to McHenry, 10-0 all-time. Bearcats trying to get their first win by guarding Paige Robinson close. She turned to assists, feeding Emily Parker for the 3 there. Then next possession, Robinson double-team, draws the same pass, this time to Katie Kirkhart. She buries the 3, and Drury was up 12-2 right out of the gate. With Robinson covered, it was Parker who would lead the scoring effort. She finished in transition on her way to a game-high 19, and close behind her was Kelsey Winfrey. Second quarter, she powers in for the finish and the foul. Drury was up 50-25 at halftime. Third quarter, more Winfrey, this time from the perimeter, putting the Lady Panthers up 67-42. Then in the fourth quarter, she strikes again from the outside. The senior scored 18 as Drury tops McHenry 92-62 and stays perfect on the season at 8-0. On the men's side, the Drury Panthers were looking for their third straight win last night. Jason Montgomery picking up where he left off on Sunday. The corner 3 here makes it a 5-4 Drury start. McHenry hot from the outside. Brendan Gooch with the triple, and the Bearcats were up 17-12. Drury can play the perimeter game as well. Cal Hartley with the deep three, and he got fouled. He made the free throw, so the 4-point play would make it 19-16 McKendree. Then Conley Garrison with the inbound pass to who else? Hartley knocks down the catch-and-shoot triple, 25-24 Drury. Then Garrison would take it coast to coast, splits the defense, gets the layup. Panthers up 3. Garrison led all scorers with 34 points, and Drury wins in overtime, 92-88. Southwest Baptist Bearcats face Indianapolis last night. Lady Bearcats lose 72-61. Southwest Baptist, though, wins 64-58. The Evangel Crusaders at Mid-America Nazarene. Lady Crusaders lost 85-59. Mid-America beat Evangel 74-62. I'm Dan Lucy with your morning sports.
We are tracking a storm system that has been impacting the Ozarks over the last 12 hours or so. Snow continues to fall, rain also, but lots of blue on the map. You can see that trying to circulate back into Greene County. We've been dealing with mainly rain here in the metro, and we really have been dealing with that because of what we call an urban heat island effect, or just all the concrete of the city keeps the warmth around, and outside of town temperatures can fall a little bit quicker, and I think that's kind of played a role in our temperatures today, and it's played a role in our precip type. You can see across the area using Springfield's dual pole Doppler radar, still some blue, also some green, but some reports of snow coming in. We've talked about this one in Compton. Northwestern Arkansas, higher elevations, heavier snow has been taking place down that way. I think now probably over 4 inches. I've seen some reports of that on Twitter. Southwestern Missouri, Rocky Comfort down toward McDonald County, far southwestern reaches of the Show Me State, over 2 inches. So it's happening, just not in town right now. But I think as this moisture continues to circulate around this low, we are going to see some of that snow in Springfield. So we'll give it the yellow light, especially traveling east-west along Highway 60. You really want to watch for slick spots. I'm sure it's going to be not all that bad. Once you get off the highway, though, that could be a different story, too. So we're going to watch out for this. Futurecast continues to show that moisture circulate back on through, even into our evening before this departs. We'll talk more about the rest of our 7-day forecast and if we have any more chances of wintry weather coming up in just a little while.
All right, TJ, thank you. 6:24 right now. And coming up next for you here on Daybreak, we'll have a timeline of the events of the riots at the Capitol from last night that led to 4 people dying. Those details when we come back.
Welcome back, everyone. 27 past the hour for you this morning. We've been tracking the news here all morning for you. After a day of chaos, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser says that the U.S. Capitol is secure and a multi-agency effort will ensure its safety in the coming days.
Capitol Police, D.C. Metropolitan Police, and the Secretary of the Army will be coordinating a continued response to, in Bowser's words, an unprecedented attack on the American democracy.
Now, we have a little bit of a timeline for you here. Protesters began clashing with police in the afternoon, which is when Congress met. Once they breached 4 layers of security, the Capitol went into lockdown. An announcement was played inside the Capitol as both chambers abruptly went into recess. Protesters then got into the building. All of this occurred shortly after President Trump addressed his supporters, vowing that they don't concede at this election.
And the group broke into the U.S. Capitol building around 2:45 p.m. They made it as far as the House chambers, where just minutes before, Congress was beginning to certify the Electoral College results. Later in the afternoon, tear gas and percussion grenades were deployed by police around the U.S. Capitol to move back rioters, and that's according to the Associated Press.
Some made it into the offices of lawmakers. You may have seen this photo circulating the internet as this man got into Nancy Pelosi's office and sat at her desk. Our partners at KNWA confirmed that he's from Gravette, Arkansas, which is in the northwest part of the state. His name is Richard Barnett. He's been known to attend similar protests like these in the Ozarks before. There's more pictures of him, like you see right there, claiming to take a letter from Nancy Pelosi's office. He told a reporter it wasn't stealing because he left a quarter on her desk for it. Law enforcement was able to secure the building and clear the rioters. A 6 p.m. curfew for Washington, D.C. was put into place, but people continued to protest in the streets. 47 were arrested for breaking curfew. There were 5 other arrests as well that were made. 4 people died in these protests, 3 from medical emergencies, and 1 woman was shot while trying to break into the House chambers.
It is 6:29 right now, and still ahead for you here on Daybreak. We have the top 3 things you need to know if you're just waking up. Stay with us.
And now weather with meteorologist TJ Springer, certified by WeatherRate for the most accurate forecast in the Ozarks.
The big weather headline this morning, of course, has been that wintry weather across the Ozarks, and we're still seeing it across the area, but still some green on the map as well. It's been a tale of the temperatures and how it plays a role in our precip type, where temperatures have been just a little bit colder and precip has come down heavier. We've been able to subtract some of that heat from the atmosphere and see that changeover, but that hasn't occurred really in Springfield just yet. But notice, far eastern Greene County trying to see some of that snow work back in. And along Highway 60, we've seen that from our own Bailey Stroll, who has been tracking the conditions out on the roadways. We'll have more from her in just a bit here. Compton, higher up in the atmosphere, or higher elevation, but of course you're a little higher up in the atmosphere too. That's where we've seen some of that snow in northwestern Arkansas, southwestern Missouri, a report of over 2 inches. And far southwest McDonald County, 2.3 inches there. We've seen that too. So we are seeing it, just not in the metro at the moment. We'll see it, I think, as we head through the rest of our morning, that changeover in town and really along and south of Highway 60. We'll talk more about the snow and how much we could see before it's all said and done in just a little while here, guys.
All right, thank you, TJ. Weather is what we'll be checking up on throughout the day for you. Bailey Stroll's doing that right now. She has been all morning. She joins us once again on a live drive right now. Bailey, where are you and what are you seeing out there?
Well, we checked out Rogersville, we checked out Fordland. Now we're back in Springfield. We're heading west on Chestnut Expressway. I think we're about to pass Jefferson here. Very, very little precipitation falling at the moment, just wet roads. Folks won't be having to, folks in Springfield at least, not having to clean off their cars before they head out this morning. Lots of folks on the road here on Chestnut Expressway, but no travel impacts. But just because that's happening, that's the case here in Springfield. Also in Rogersville and Fordland, we saw some flurries, not sticking though. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be some covered roads or at least side roads south and east of us today. So make sure to check that MoDOT traveler information map, especially if you're in the outer parts of the Ozarks for your commute this morning. We saw some reports earlier on the MoDOT traveler information map of some partly covered roads down around Berry County and the Missouri-Arkansas border. We'll still keep checking it out. As TJ said, this might switch over to flurries here in the Springfield area very soon, but we keep falling between 30 and 34 degrees. So it's waiting game right now, but just rain falling, wet roads, nothing to worry about here in Springfield. We'll check in with you guys later. Bailey Stroll, Ozarks First.
All right, some welcome news from Bailey there if you have to head out this morning. Thank you. We've also been following the news of the protests, riots in the Electoral College all morning. Yesterday, protesters gathered peacefully in Jefferson City, Missouri, in support of President Trump and also in support of Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, who was one of the first senators to say he was objecting to 6 states' electoral votes. The rally lasted for a few hours before people went home there. And, of course, making news nationally, a day after what happened in D.C., Mayor Muriel Bowser says that the U.S. Capitol is secure and that they'll ensure its safety for the coming days. Remember, the inauguration is less than 2 weeks away. A 6 p.m. curfew for Washington, D.C. was put into place last night, but people continued to protest in the streets as 47 were arrested for breaking curfew. There were also 5 other arrests that had happened there. 4 people died, 3 from medical emergencies, and 1 woman who was shot while trying to break into House chambers. Washington is under a curfew after a mob of rioters supporting President Trump stormed the Capitol building, disrupting the congressional electoral count. Some rioters entered the House chamber, as we said before, but they resumed their actions through the night and certified the Electoral College votes at about 3 o'clock in the morning local time.
That's right. So into the evening, those lawmakers reconvened to count those electoral votes, and they officially confirmed President-elect Joe Biden as the next president of the United States in the early morning hours. Congress voted down objections raised by President Trump's GOP allies over the Arizona and Pennsylvania votes. And the chaos on Capitol Hill is sparking condemnation from leaders around the world. CBS's Tina Krause is in London with those reactions.
The violence at the U.S. Capitol dominated newscasts across the globe. Tweets from world leaders flooded social media. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson tweeting disgraceful scenes in U.S. Congress. NATO's Secretary General said the outcome of this democratic election must be respected. America's allies called it an assault on democracy.
I feel terribly for what's happening there. I really do. I mean, they are one of our closest friends and partners, the United States.
Germany's foreign minister took aim at President Trump, tweeting he and his supporters should finally accept the decision of the American voters and stop trampling on democracy. In Tokyo, a group of pro-Trump activists marched in support of the American president, while the Japanese government said it still hoped the U.S. would have a peaceful and democratic transfer of power. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
The Chinese government has not officially reacted to the chaos on Capitol Hill, but social media is filled with comparisons to last year's often violent pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. Now let's catch you up on how the markets look. The Nikkei closed up 434 points. The Dow also gaining 56 points and the Nasdaq gaining 60 points. We will be right back here on Daybreak. In the meantime, we hope you will find us wherever you get your podcasts and subscribe. Just search for Color 10 News. That's where you get Daybreak in 10 every day for your local news and weather. We'll be right back.
And now weather with meteorologist TJ Springer, certified by WeatherRate for the most accurate forecast in the Ozarks.
An area of low pressure has continued to impact us here at home in the Ozarks. That's why we're seeing rain and also snow across the Color 10 viewing area to kickstart our Friday Eve. Some of you may be waking up and peeking out the window, not seeing that winter wonderland like we could have seen, or at least was a possibility. But we still see a lot of blue on the map here, and some of us, like in Arkansas, are seeing a lot of snow and a wind-driven snow at that. Northwestern neighborhoods down that way, places like Harrison, Jasper, down toward Marshall. Higher up in the atmosphere, we've seen that changeover. It's been colder and higher up in elevation, too. Seeing some snow near Mountain Grove, Ava, but notice in Springfield, still some green on the map. Wanted to talk about some snow reports, too, like down in Compton. We did have some fair amount of snow. The report was over 2 inches. But I think now, and even seeing some reports on Twitter of over 4 higher up in elevation there, that was at 1:46 this morning. So it has been some time where the snow has continued to fall. Down across far southwest Missouri in McDonald County, we had a report in Rocky Comfort of over 2 inches as well. Highway 60 really has been that kind of dividing line, so to speak, today, where we've had some heavier snow along east and west. So travel carefully, watch for those slick spots. We'll keep the yellow light all the way through the day, as temperatures will hang pretty close to the freezing mark. But that's really thrown a wrench in why we have seen more rain in some spots compared to others, is we've been riding that fine line. And if we could get into the upper 20s, even 31, 30 degrees, it'd be a different story out there. We've been at 34, 33, 35. In Branson, we're seeing wet conditions out there this morning over 76 Country Boulevard, and we're seeing it here in the metro as well. Taking a peek outside your door, 34 degrees with the humidity at 96%, the dew point at 33. We may be able to drop toward that. We haven't had heavy precip either. When you have heavy precip, we call it dynamic cooling. We actually subtract the heat from the atmosphere because of how hard that precip is falling. We haven't had that really here either. Now, you can see some of the spots with lower visibility because of that snow, like in Harrison, Fayetteville, 2.5 miles. Pretty okay out toward Fort Worth, Lake Ozark at 10, 7-mile visibility in Clinton and Camdenton with temperatures in the mid to lower 30s. 33 in Harrison, Monette, Joplin at 35. Also sitting close to that in Rolla, 33. It's 34 in Fort Worth, 36 degrees in West Plains. Again, we're not at freezing, so that has allowed roads to actually stay somewhat okay where the snow hasn't fallen all that hard. It's different where the snow has been coming down heavy. I think we're going to watch that changeover continue. Still could have some slushy and snow-covered accumulations there on the roads through the morning. Rain and snow showers on and off through the day until the system can depart. But I think once we get into this afternoon, I think we'll have some more wet roads because of temperatures hanging in the middle 30s above freezing. Futurecast shows that snow continuing to wrap on through. This is 7:30 in the morning. Seeing some of that snow in Greene County, still showing rain down toward Taney County and Branson. Harrison, Arkansas, still seeing snow. So this is just, it's really tough. This is one of the hardest things to look out for in terms of a winter weather event is the precip type on an event like this where temperatures are so crucial in how our temperature or how the precip type will play out. By later on this morning, still seeing some of that snow, I think, in Springfield. Heavier snow still across northwestern Arkansas. Some of this continues to circulate back on through as we head toward the evening commute, so watch out for that. And then we start to see some improving conditions, I think, through the overnight. Still could have some spots that pick up maybe 2-3 inches, especially down in the higher elevations of Arkansas. You know, Searcy County, Newton County, down toward the north and east. Mountain Grove could see another 2.5 inches or so. These are just some approximate numbers, but another 1 to 2 inches or so is definitely on the table where the snow continues to fall. Cold Saturday, Sunday, only in the middle 30s. More sunshine by the time we get into Monday as high pressure briefly builds back in. As we head toward Tuesday and Wednesday, we're right back into the 40s and 50s. So that's something we'll be watching out for as we head through this coming week, guys.
All right, thank you, TJ. Happening around America, a San Diego man says it was his wife, the woman who was shot in the Capitol building yesterday, after seeing video of her during news coverage. Police, however, have not yet confirmed that his wife is the woman shot.
I sent her a text. Clearly, it's within a half hour of the point of her dying, but I sent her a text saying, "Hey, can I get a status check?" And I never heard back from her.
Aaron Babbitt says his wife, 35-year-old Ashley Babbitt, is the woman shot inside the Capitol. He says he watched coverage unfold on the news and saw who he says was his wife, shot and dying on the screen.
I don't know why she had to die in the people's house. That's our house. It's everybody's house. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. I don't know why she had to die inside the house. I saw the pictures. I had to see the pictures of my wife dying on the news. She was voicing her opinion, and she got killed for it.
The Metropolitan Police Department said it would be withholding the woman's name until notifying family. Aaron Babbitt says Ashley is a San Diego native who served in the Air Force and D.C. National Guard for a total of 14 years.
2 pipe bombs were also found located on the Capitol grounds. Officials believe the number of injuries reported will still increase, but not just with protesters.
You should also be aware that at least 14 MPD officers have sustained injuries during the demonstrations. One member suffered serious injuries after he was pulled into a crowd and assaulted. He is currently hospitalized and undergoing testing for treatment for his injuries. One officer received significant facial injuries from being struck by a projectile and is also hospitalized. The additional injuries are not as serious in nature, but are nonetheless concerning.
Both the House and Senate were able to reconvene, as you know, and began the electoral vote count last night. It concluded at about 3 o'clock this morning.
It is 6:46 right now. Stay with us. Daybreak in 10 is up next.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. It is time for Daybreak in 10 on Color 10.
We are on the air with you without commercials for the next 10 minutes, beginning right now. And first, let's head on over to meteorologist TJ Springer with a look at our forecast first. Good morning, TJ.
For some of us, guys, definitely wintry out there. Good morning. We've seen that snow falling, but not in the Springfield metro. We're trying, though, seeing that rain snow line creep back to the west as some heavier snow has been falling east along Highway 60 and really eastern reaches of the Color 10 viewing area and down to the south, too. So we're going to continue to see this snow circulate around this low as we progress through the rest of our Thursday. So some of us are going to encounter slick roadways for sure. We have had reports of heavier snow down across northwestern Arkansas, like Compton, over 2 inches there. Even in southwestern Missouri, McDonald County, Rocky Comfort has seen over 2 inches of snow this morning. So it is happening, not just in the metro at the moment, but that doesn't mean we won't see some of that snow. I think by early on this morning, this is 7:30 a.m., trying to see some of that snow circulate back on through, and that continues through mid to late morning before we start to see this moisture taper off a little bit. Still could have some lingering rain and snow showers into the early afternoon and evening before we just see the cloud cover stick tough through later on tonight and into the wee hours of our Friday. Watch out for those slick spots of snow-covered roads, especially on less traveled thoroughfares where the snow has been coming down heavier. Still could see another 1 to maybe 3 inches in the heavier zones, the hardest hit locations like northwestern Arkansas, eastern neighborhoods. We'll have that last look at that 7-day forecast and when we finally warm up in just a little bit.
All right, TJ, thank you. And as we see that rain and that snow dancing around Springfield, we have had our Bailey Stroll out driving to check on those road conditions. Let's check back in with her one last time. Bailey, where are you and what do you see out there right now?
Well, we're just off Glenstone near Chestnut Expressway here in St. Louis Street here in Springfield, and I wish I had more to show you guys. Honestly, the precipitation has really stopped here in the Springfield metro area for the moment, at least. If anything's coming down, it's really missed. I mean, it feels cold out here. It feels like it's freezing. But we just aren't seeing that snow like we expected. Earlier, we did see some flurries around Fordland and Rogersville, and there are some flurrying around my head right now. I don't know if that's rain or if that's flurries, but either way, the road conditions out here are just not dangerous. I mean, nothing to worry about if you're heading out in the Springfield area. You don't have to clean off your car, and you don't have to worry about any dangerous road conditions this morning. But as we head south into our southeast, we might see some covered roads, especially those side roads. We saw a lot of MoDOT trucks out here in the area earlier this morning on the highways and main streets covering the roads, but those side roads might be covered quick this morning, especially around Berry County. If you're checking the MoDOT Traveler Information Map this morning, make sure you zoom in a little more. A lot of it looks green, but if you do zoom in, you could see some partly covered roadways, especially as the morning goes on. Down in Berry County, we had some of those earlier, but we'll check back in with you later. For now, if you're heading out, coming into Springfield Metro, you're good to go. Reporting in Springfield, Bailey Stroll, Ozarks First.
All right, Bailey, thank you. Now let's check in on some national news. After a lengthy day of protests and riots in Washington, Congress reconvened last night and voiced opinions on the events that happened before certifying each state's electoral college votes to confirm Joe Biden to be the next president of the United States. Both the House and Senate defeated objections to Arizona and Pennsylvania's votes. Early this morning, the White House released a statement from President Trump saying though he disagrees with the outcome of the election, he promised an orderly transition on January 20th.
This is the scene from Jefferson City, Missouri's capital there, as protesters peacefully gathered there, coming out in a show of support for President Trump. Some said they were there to also stand with Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, who was one of the first senators to say he was going to object to several states' electoral votes. The rally lasted for a few hours.
A photo of a Northwest Arkansas man protesting inside the Capitol is going viral. Once the picture was seen by our partners at KNWA in Northwest Arkansas, they immediately recognized him as Richard Barnett from Gravette, Arkansas. They spoke to him back in November during a Stop the Steal rally in Bentonville. He supports President Trump's claims of voter fraud and believes that cost him this election.
If you don't like it, send somebody after me, but I ain't going down easy. People are going to vote and finding out somebody already used their vote and they're not allowed to vote. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Again, that was from an interview from November. Several journalists in D.C., including the New York Times, also confirmed the man in the photo is Barnett.
In some other local news for you, a bicyclist was hit and injured on Highway 65 last night. 38-year-old Adam Taylor was struck in the roadway about a mile north of Springfield. According to police, the driver was taking a left-hand turn and did not see the cyclist. His injuries are severe and his current condition is unknown at last check. Police say Taylor did not have reflective lights on his bike and was wearing dark clothes at the time.
A man from Alton, Missouri was killed late last night in a single vehicle accident. 67-year-old David Brown was driving south on Highway 19 in Oregon County, about 4 miles north of Alton. The vehicle went off the road and overturned, ejecting Brown. The Highway Patrol crash report indicates he was not wearing a seatbelt.
A 101-year-old woman who passed away last month in Marshfield was also the last known widow of a Civil War soldier. Get this story. Helen Jackson met James Bolin at a church near her home in Niangua during the height of the Great Depression. Jackson's father used to make her stop at his home and help with chores, and at the time she was still in school. The two got close, and he eventually asked her hand in marriage in 1936. As repayment, she could access his Union pension when he passed away. He did die about 3 years later. She kept it a secret and never withdrew that pension. Some of her friends explained to us why.
If it came out, they would think that she was money hungry and she married that old man just to get his pension. And that back then was a horrible thing for a woman to marry a man for his money. She wasn't in it for the money. She just felt sorry for him, and he thought a lot of her.
I asked her, Miss Helen, why didn't you say anything? And she said, I wanted to honor him. I didn't want people to think that I married him for his money. I wanted to honor him, so all these years, I've kept my mouth shut because he was worth it.
We've got a lot more about this story for you. You have to tune in Saturday, though. Jessie Inman is going to share more about this, about how she ended up revealing her secret and why her marriage wasn't officially recognized until about 85 years after it happened. Moving on to some news from around the region for you. Arkansas health leaders say a lag in COVID-19 vaccine reporting is causing confusion. Pharmacies and hospitals have a 72-hour period to report the number of doses received and administered. Dr. Jennifer Delaha with the Department of Health says they're constantly waiting on those reports, and because of the delay, it's hard to determine the next steps for the vaccine and who should get it. Now they've moved on to holding those hospitals and pharmacies accountable for being on time.
We're working on quality review and putting a process into that so that we can identify any facility that has not yet entered their doses and it's beyond the 72 hours.
Arkansas is still in phase 1A of the state's vaccine distribution plan.
And now here's a look at what's coming up after Daybreak.
Coming up, an unprecedented assault, a nation in shock, questions about leadership. Why was the U.S. Capitol building so vulnerable to attack? We'll talk with two lawmakers trapped as rioters roamed the building. Coming up on CBS This Morning.
All right, so as we've been telling you, we got to watch out for the wet roads that are happening today, right?
Yeah, and some of us are seeing those snow-covered roadways out there. Not here in the metro, as Bailey was talking about, but
down
still,
south.
Yeah, down south for sure. Yeah, I've seen some reports on Twitter and Facebook, just heavy snow, wind-driven snow, and for some of us, even out toward Webster and Wright counties, east of Greene, there still could be some slick spots. Just travel carefully. We'll give you the latest online, of course.
All right, thank you, TJ. Thanks for starting your Thursday with us here on Daybreak. We'll see you at midday.